Now it is tightening up where we can actually see what could be decent wind at least, if not some rotation. So I'm going to zoom into that part. This is right along 68. If you're familiar with that area down in Marion County, you're just to the east of the Lebanon area. This is the greatest potential for wind. We go back into that with our scope. So let's just take a look at the radar scope and the velocity we go. And just bear with me. I know we're sort of zoomed in, but I want to give you where we have the greatest potential for some of that wind and rotation. It's right there. So it's just past Lebanon off to the southeast side. Strong winds, possible rotation there would be right along 68. This is 68. So this takes you right into Lebanon. All right. If you're on the east side of Lebanon, that's where you have to be most concerned. This is tightening up. That is the, I don't want to use the word best, but that is the greatest confidence that we've seen on the radar from the signature all day. So if there was a warning to be issued, this would probably be a decent scan of the radar to do so on. And it's right there. And you can see it moving right east of Lebanon. The bulk of the city is in the clear at this point. We're making calls to see if there's been any damage. Even with just a forward motion of the wind, we could see some damage out of this storm. All right, so that's what's happening down across Marion County. That is the tornado warning. It is the lone tornado warning that we have. That storm is moving off to the east at 35 miles an hour, and the warning will go until, and that's 2:45. All right. So for Marion County, it'll be out of there before that time because it extends across the county line. New update on the radar. You see it. So let's just track it. I'm going to pan the radar over. I know I'm zoomed in very tight. So for folks in Marion County, you'll be familiar with where we are. Other folks are going to be like, where are we? This is Marion County, Kentucky. I have to say that because we have Marion County, Indiana, and Indianapolis. No, we're not worried about them. This is Pennock. This is 68. This takes you right over into parts of Boyle County. You'll notice the warning continues all across, all the way over toward Gravel Switch. Hasn't arrived in your area yet over toward Gravel Switch, but it will. The storm is moving in. I may be zoomed in just a little bit too tight, so let me zoom back out and then we'll go back in. Just to get our bearings, here's the home view. All of the action south of Louisville. Nothing here. Finally clearing out. Thunderstorms with a lot of lightning and wind to our south. A few severe thunderstorm warnings. In fact, when we look of where to go, if you're in eastern Marion County, you've got to get to the lowest level. That's inside. Maybe it's a bathroom. Maybe it's a hallway. Could be under a stairway. You just want to be sure you get to the lowest level. Skies are much darker to the south than they are here. That's our SkyTrack camera in E-Town. Marion County is our only county under a tornado warning, and that is for another 24 minutes. So that's what we're watching down to our south in Marion County. This is a tornado warning. We have a severe thunderstorm watch in place. That means weather is possible in terms of severe weather. We noted that that was issued this afternoon. We waited a little while and boom, the warnings started to fire to our south. And that means it's happening. You have to take immediate action when we have warnings. There are a few power outages, most of those centered down in parts of Grayson County, where we've seen about 4% of our customers. That's 702 of you without power. Otherwise, notice how warm and unstable the atmosphere is to the south. Somerset, Danville, 81, 82, Lebanon, 66. That's that strong storm moving in, feeding off of not only those warmer temperatures, but the moisture in the air. Dew points down that way are in the 70-degree category. And again, you can see the only warning that we have to the south. I'm going to zoom back into it while I'm looking at that. Ryan just hung up the phone. Let's go over to him and see if anybody was able to speak to him.
Yeah, Kevin, I'm off the phone with both the Sheriff's Department and the Fire Department there in Lebanon. They have 0 reports of damage. I just looked at the Kentucky Mesonet, a real-time wind gust. They've had a 41-mile-per-hour maximum wind gust right there near Lebanon. This is right where that pocket of extreme wind was moving through. So far, no reports of damage and no reports of severe level wind gusts just yet. And this is real ground truth. The folks at the Fire Department monitoring all the radios, no calls into them just yet.
All right. Good news there. We appreciate that. We just continue to scan the skies with the radar. This is the best we can do outside of reaching people that are in the path of the storm saying, hey, what is happening? And we've been doing that all day. I've even put my family and friends to work down there because obviously that's where I'm from, southern Nelson, Marion County. We've got family all along the track of this baby, and there's been no reports of damage. In fact, it's been less than what some storms are when they're calling me saying, hey, what's going on down here? All right, so let's just go back into it because we just have to keep scanning. This is one of those things. This is how weather works. It changes by the second, not just the minute. I mean, 2 minutes goes by, which is when we're on our fastest scan of the radar. It's about 2.5 minutes. It's what it takes to get a scan in. Sometimes a tornado can touch down and lift back up in that amount of time. So we really have to watch. We've seen that even in Louisville this year, where we've had a number of reports. Very strong winds still being picked up on the radar, moving east of Lebanon, north of Bradfordsville toward Gravel Switch. So bounded by, well, between the two. This is going to be that heavy punch of wind that Ryan mentioned, where we at least have measured 40-plus mile-an-hour winds at the surface. Keep in mind that the radar situated in Fort Knox, as it goes out in distance, it goes up in height because, believe it or not, the Earth is curved. So as we go out in distance, we go up in height. So we're shooting a little high here, but it's as low as we can get. Otherwise, we drive the beam into the ground. So this is what we're seeing. And it's showing some very strong winds. Should we tap into those, which we do in thunderstorms because we get strong updrafts and downdrafts, we can bring these strong winds down to the surface, and then you wind up with either straight line winds, microburst, or if there's enough shear in the atmosphere, tornado. And we do have shear in the atmosphere today, and we've seen on the radar indicators that would show some of that rotation, hence the tornado warning as opposed to just another severe thunderstorm warning. So this is the pocket of wind we're watching. I just went through all that because I felt like you needed to understand what we were looking at. The sort of delineation would be 68. It's U.S. Highway 68. Goes right into Lebanon, right over to Gravel Switch up to Perryville. This, again, is a blast of wind that will move through 40, 50 miles per hour. Tawana Andrew is still here. She's been monitoring a lot of the social media that we get. We always appreciate your reports, whether you submit those on the Wave Weather app, whether you're jumping onto our Twitter, Facebook. We're live everywhere all the time when there's severe weather. Anybody chiming in with any kind of damage from today, Tawana?
So far, not yet. I've gotten a couple of pictures from the LaRue County, Harned County area with the storms that we saw earlier. Those moved through. Thankfully, no reports of any damage. Did have one viewer, so if you're still up and you're watching us, who reported some crazy winds, as she called it, in portions of Lebanon, and hasn't gotten a response just yet. So waiting to get a little bit more information, but so far no damage being reported. So that's certainly some good news. But this strong wind gust, it certainly knocks some things over still. So that's something to be careful with as these storms roll.
Yeah, it's not surprising that we're getting folks saying these are crazy winds because we've had the 41-mile-per-hour gusts, but we just haven't had evidence of damage or severe level winds. That's 58 miles per hour or greater just yet with these storms as they traipse on through eastern parts of Marion County, Kevin.
Yeah, but however, the radar is showing the strongest winds we've seen all day, at least from the radar view, which I was explaining sort of that we're shooting into the up a bit than if it were a closer storm to us. But nonetheless, we can see those winds on the radar. It's just a matter of, are they reaching the ground? And at this point, there's no ground truth in that. However, it's always best to be safe than sorry. And that just means some of them could reach the ground. And that's why sometimes you get the warnings that are radar indicated. And that's what we've had here. Again, we've talked about the tornado safe place. I won't go back through that. Let me just zoom in as we recenter the storm, noting that all of southern, some people are like, my gosh, what's going on today? They've been on all afternoon now for an hour or more, and are we going to have severe weather? The answer is only a small part of the viewing area even has the chance, and that's areas to our south, parts of Marion, Greene, Taylor, Adair, those folks, and it's almost out of there. So really it's going to leave Adair, and where we have the warning now, which would be far eastern Marion County, they're the only ones that even have the chance to see severe weather in our viewing area at this point. Now, will they see severe weather across eastern Kentucky this afternoon? Probably, but we won't be on the air worried about that. Let's just zoom in as we go back to the zoom tool, and I'm just going to focus in. Lots of lightning with this cluster of storms too. You can see it. So, I mean, if you had to be outside, just take some, let this storm pass, let it take the lightning with it, because that's quite a concentration of lightning bolts blasting down. A lot of cloud to ground lightning with that storm. Zoom back in, centered it up. That looks good. The the storm moving, there's the county line, so eventually it'll be moving over into parts of Boyle County. You find Perryville, Harrodsburg to the north, Jacktown, Beach Bottom, Hudsonville, all of that. There's Danville, so you see where the storm is going. Once it escapes Marion County, we'll be able to get back over to Dawn, who's cooking in the kitchen. We can smell it in here. Let's go back to our radar scope, velocity scope, and we will zoom in just to see that pocket of wind again. There it is. So it hadn't gone anywhere. I was going to leave this up until the scan comes back around because that's the pocket of heavy wind. It's where it was, so it's likely about here by now. We'll see that with the next scan. Takes a while for the radar to get enough scans to get that data that it needs to really get a clear indication of what the atmosphere is doing. But strong winds, regardless, tornado or not, may not show the greatest rotation. However, we do see that pocket of wind right along just south of 68, moving toward Bradfordsville and Gravel Switch, and really the strongest in between. Ryan?
Yeah, at this time, wind speeds on the radar, we're up to about 70 miles per hour just north of Bradfordsville. So again, this may not be making it to ground level, but we kind of have to assume that it is, because that is the potential that we could see with that 69, 70 mile per hour radar detected wind. I will say the radar is pretty far away from where these storms are, so that would be higher up in this thunderstorm where we've got that wind speed at this point, probably several thousand feet up, but it is something to monitor, Kevin. Still no reports of damage in Marion County just yet. We're monitoring all our feeds.
Yeah, and that's some good news I'm seeing. They've just issued a severe thunderstorm warning for Madison County, so that's just outside of our area. Again, as we looked at what was happening, a lot of severe weather is possible to our east, parts of eastern central Kentucky, across the Bluegrass region. For us, this will be about the last gasp that we have, and this area of wind is moving across eastern parts, and there's the update right on the county line. The strongest winds we've seen all day on radar. You start to get those orange colors in there, kind of peachy colors, very strong winds. We're in this category here, so you can see that. Again, the reds and the greens indicating radar toward winds toward and away from the radar. So we don't have a ton of rotation showing up in this, but we do have a very large pocket of wind, and that is likely going to do some damage. Once we start to reach into that zone, as long as they're reaching the ground, we'd start to see some damage out of that, all right? The thing is it reaching the ground? And we've had no confirmed reports of that. We did measure over 40-mile-an-hour winds from the Mesonet station in Marion County. And as we continue to see this pass by the county line, eventually we'll be able to hand that warning off to the Lexington market, and those folks in Marion County will be safe. Loretta, Raywick, over toward Lebanon, all in the clear at this point. New Market, it's past you. You've still got some rain. You've still got some lightning to deal with, but this blast of heavy wind and any potential of rotation is now moving south of 68, just south of Gravel Switch, just off to the north and east of Bradfordsville at this point. So back to our home view. I'm going to take the radar, the scope down. I'm going to zoom out, and then I'm going to take the lightning off just so we can get a better glimpse of the radar. And as we do that, and let me just go back to the radar, boom, and then the lightning will go away. You can see that is the only tornado warning, though they've just issued a new tornado warning to continue that storm as it moves off to the east. So let's zoom back into that. This is going to be outside of our area. So once our tornado warning ends, we'll be able to transition to that new warning, which is outside of our viewing area. So again, you can see the polygon flashing. That's the newest tornado warning. That includes the Danville area, just south of Danville, so it includes a good chunk of Danville, by the way. Hudsonville along 127. That's the new tornado warning coming out for that storm we're watching. I'm going to cover it up temporarily as we go back to our velocities here, and I'm just going to put on the velocity. This will take the whole image away. That's what we're watching, and you can see it clearly. That's just a pocket of heavy wind, some rotation in there, but that is the potential. If there was going to be a tornado anywhere, that's where it would be. This is very heavy wind, the possible rotation just south of Gravel Switch, moving over into parts of Boyle County. It's going to stay just south of Danville. Nonetheless, that is where it will go. So it appears as though that tornado warning for Marion County is expiring. I see Ryan is on the phone. Tawana, have you had any reports before we go back over to Dawn G?
So from that particular area in Lebanon itself, one viewer, Ashley, thank you for sending this in, said that there was plenty of heavy rain, a lot of lightning as the storm moved through, but not seeing any damage near Glasscock Elementary or near Marion County High School either. So that's certainly some good news there. No major reports of damage there so far. So that is some good news as those storms continue to track off to the east. What have you heard?
Yeah, and I just talked to Chris at the Lebanon Fire Department down there, and he said nothing on their radios yet, no damage reported into emergency management or the fire department just yet. So we'll continue to monitor this. About 55 customers without power, by the way, in Marion County right now. So we're starting to see those numbers pop a bit, but even 40-mile-per-hour gusts can do something like that.
All right, let's just give one more look at the radar, and then Dawn is ready to go over in the kitchen again. So let me zoom back in, and I did this a while ago, and we were right back on the air, but this will be the last gas for Marion County because there's nothing behind it, all right? So the tornado warning has expired or moved off to the east from Marion County. You can see the thunderstorms to the south. These are the ones we'll be watching. Said we'd be here. We're not going anywhere. So we've got really the only county in our viewing area to watch is Adair County. The rest of us are in the clear. Obviously, you see additional severe thunderstorms off to the south, close to Somerset. Some of these individual storms are strong, and those will continue to increase in intensity this afternoon. But for the rest of us, the system is passing us by. We're drying out finally after a very wet morning. Those thunderstorms continue to move to our south. Everybody's free of both severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings in our viewing area at this point. We still have a few folks under that severe thunderstorm watch off to our south. We're here to keep an eye on it. In the meantime, with no warnings, let's get you back to Dawn G in Wave Country.
All right, Kevin, we appreciate you and your team watching out for everyone. And everybody just realize it may not be near your area, but we're taking care of everyone and keeping everybody safe. Again, Chef Casey Mader here, Chef It Up. It is barbecue month. We were right